Greetings and hello, this here is the Ancient Spirit, Tralaka, speaking here tonight in spirit, explaining tonight more deeply what upon is understood about the electronic grid around this planet Earth, and expanding from there we will explain more. The grid, as I have talked about before, has been here for hundreds of thousands of years. Originally it was through a high technology agreement by a certain species of old greys with an A, and their high technology versus their partner of of a certain reptilian species of reptilians that was of the Saturn and Neptune area of the Earth systems of planets. Those two species came together for a joint idea upon which to keep the latest colonists of species which had gone to Earth to settle and live, that had space-going long-range technology and also trans-dimensional technology. The electronic grid was put in place in an attempt to keep the settlers only on Earth and only transport with ship technology under the height of the clouds, for the masters of the grid were worried that those settlers would use that technology to be able to go to those planets where the reptilians claimed ownership, to colonize and then to kill the reptilians of that species of reptilians. However, the first off-worlder settlers were the Lemurians, who were a fifth-dimensional living species who were semi-transparent to nearly fully transparent, a humanoid form, tall and slender, with, though, taller, more narrow heads and necks which were about 30% longer. Their first few generations of Lemurians were very peaceful, though they lived on a diet of light energy. They were very poetic and wrote such loving music that is still enjoyed in parts of the living multidimensional universe today. Their lives were thousands of years in length. As they became more and more familiar with the planet Earth, they made and fashioned many beautiful, beautiful, uh, incredible arts of crystal, minerals, and plants combinations to decorate even their stone-carved homes and streets and so forth. The masters of the grid, however, were very angry that their grid, that the species of the old greys and that one species of reptilians had made, was not working for the Lemurians, were still coming and going with supplies to and from Earth with their long, spindly, narrow ships. This, though, kept on for thousands of years, as the Lemurians primarily stayed on that very large island continent, which was in the Indian Ocean, just below the equatorial line of the planet Earth. This island continent was much wider than it was deep. They lived with full harmony with the planet's Gaia. Okay, as time went on, the masters of the grid technology went through many, many meetings together. They began to understand that even, oh man, more settlers from other planets, even outside of the Earth systems of planets, were coming to Earth to settle, to live, or to use technology to mine minerals or crystals, to stop and refill for some of them who had very large ships, the hydrogen from the Earth's very vast oceans, and then leave again. As the masters of the grid were enraged, for it was like some of the visitors of other species ships of this very high technology. For them, the grid didn't even exist. And this really, really enraged that certain species of reptilians. Though, for those of the certain species of old greys, here it created a time of bemusement at their high-tech partner, the reptilians. For if there ever would be a time where the old known species of the old gray had a sense of amusement and humor, it would be at this time. For that old species of grays lived in an extreme mathematical equation construct of life. Every motion, every reason for having reason of everything of that old species of grays did that could be reasoned in equation. However, their partners of that electronic grid, that species of reptilians, their reasoning was getting chaotic, and their reasoning against any species of any resemblance of any form of humanoid was getting chaotic, and even to the point of the reptilians were going lunatic. The old gray species reasoned this idea, and without their reptoid partners knowing, the old tall grays begun their own settlements on an isolated area of the planet Earth to keep a closer eye on those different species of humanoids on the planet, while also keeping an encrypting device to allow the old gray ships to freely come and go with the planet after they readjusted the grid to adjust for themselves with a higher band that began to cause the humanoid ships to become much harder to leave the orbit on the way out. But the way in wasn't so much of a problem. It was the idea, okay, we can let them in, but we can't let them go, because this is what we do. Many Lemurians by this time were starting to leave to colonize planetary systems that are way past the direction of the Lyran system. This also was the time the early Council of the Pleiades began to talk about the Earth systems of planets. They talked about the struggles settlers were having. Volunteers from even within the Pleiadian Council started to come forward and raise their hand with announcements that they were going to be leaving the Pleiades with a large class mothership saucers with their families and many friends' families to go to Earth to attempt to balance the Earth with harmony and disengage that electronic grid that was wrongfully around the planet Earth, for it has no legal authority or permission to do what it was while in an operating condition, with causing harmful issues to settlers and engravements and the old time generations of beings on the planet Earth were having problems of the different humanoid species, though causing that Pleiadian Council to replace many of the leaving different levels of council members at that time. To them, the councils all agreed, and this is what they said. May the living multi-dimensional universe bless them with the smooth flight and safe times. This here is the ancient spirit Tralaka. As always, be safe, journey safe, take notes, and good night.